There we go. We're live right now, so that's awesome.
Sweet.
And yes, hello. Good evening here in the UK, where I'm at the moment, and it's lunchtime there, isn't it?
It's
1 o'clock.
1:50 here, yeah. So it's almost 2 o'clock here, and I'm in the West Coast. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I have Drew Eash with me this afternoon, and this is the author behind Captain Luv, the hero of the cleansing.
Mhm.
And that's another indie book, another indie comic that has been presented on offer on Google. Campaign that is has finished, but is now on demand. We're going to talk a bit about it, and also I want to go through with him through the top of how far we can go right now in indie comics, which I guess there's no limits to it, but in terms of what sort of content is appropriated on as well on what sort of damage or no damage like a mature content can have on a comic, an indie comic that is obviously trying to push itself out there against the mainstream titles. So that's an interesting conversation that I'm always interested in because
Hmm.
most of the stuff I do tries to break a little bit of content limits. Right now, I'm actually working on a script of something that that'll be deemed quite edgy, which I should be announcing it later on in the summer. But yeah, but first of all, we'll just share the book in question,
Yeah.
and you guys get to see what Captain Love is and where is available. So I'll just share that your own screen here, which I believe
Okay.
you can manipulate from there, isn't it?
Yeah, I can work my screen from here. So what we're looking at here is the campaign for my second book. Like the first book, The Hero of the Cleansing, he mentioned that book is in demand. It's easy to find. You just search Captain Love on IndieGogo, and both campaigns will pop up. So Rise of the Pirate King is the second book. Um, the first book is in demand. If you go and buy it, you can get it shipped right away. It's ready to go. Keep that in mind. So, like, if you want something immediate fixed, you need your comic book fixed now. You order Captain Love, the Hero of the Cleansing. It's the one that's in demand. That will ship immediately. It's been fulfilled. It's I got books sitting around here. I just pack them and ship them, and they go. And they'll be shipped watertight. So if like somebody drops it into a puddle, it'll likely still be dry when it gets to you. So not the package itself, but the book. um, so Captain Love is basically a space trucker and former war hero who is accompanied by an artificial intelligence that lives inside his head because he has an optical and audio implant that's driven by a computer, and she resides in that computer as well as the computer of his ship. The first book, Hero of the Cleansing, is actually the backstory of how he got the title Hero of the Cleansing. It's kind of a title that follows him around. Also, it explains how Love and Spade met, and also touches on the legend of why Love is believed to be possibly immortal. So, uh,
Hmm.
yeah. So it's a great book. This here though, Rise the Pirate King is the second book. The Hero of the Cleansing did good. It's still doing good. I'm still selling copies. It's in demand. I moved enough books to where I was confident with the second book and the second campaign. The first chapter is done. It is this campaign here. However, with this campaign, we're doing something very different. We're doing a bit of a subscription model. It's kind of like crowdfunding, except you're not waiting 2 years for a book at the end of the process. If you back what I call an executive producer tier, you actually have the ability to get each chapter as the campaign for that chapter completes. It will fulfill, and when it fulfills, the executive producers get the first books, and then after all 6 chapters are complete and those campaigns are complete, there's going to be a seventh campaign for the finished product. And executive producers get all 7 of those books, plus all the campaign stretch goals and everything that comes special will all go to the executive producers, and they just back once on one of the campaigns and they get all of that. So that's a beautiful
Hmm.
thing. It's something that no one's tried before. It seems to be working so far. So that's a beautiful thing. I'm happy about that. Um, and so this has a great little pitch video. If it's okay, I'm going to play that. So.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Drew Ish, and I'm the author of the Captain Luv series. Well, I'll tell you all about the second book, Rise of the Pirate King. Yeah, that's the thing. And in this book, you're gonna get everything that you would expect from Captain Luv. Yeah, you bet. And I'm blessed enough to be able to use the same creative team. You know what I mean? If you feel like the universe is caving in, you need love to the rescue. And it seems like nothing will be right again. You need love to the rescue. Captain Luv to the rescue. All right now. Now, Captain Luv is a space trucker and a former war hero. There is even a legend that he may be immortal. He is accompanied by Spade, who's a living AI. Yes, I said immortal. As he cannot die, and if it feels like the universe is caving in, you need love to the rescue. And it seems like nothing will be right again. You need love to the rescue. Yeah, love to the rescue. Captain Luv to the rescue. All right now. In this book, you'll get space pirates, sexy girls and science monks. There'll be bar fights, space battles, and a lot of awesome junk. There's nudity and violence and swearing within, so this book is mature. That means it's not made for children. And if it feels like the universe is caving in, there'll be love to the rescue. Yeah, and it seems like nothing will be right again. You need love to the rescue. Captain Luv to the rescue. Captain Luv to the rescue. Captain Luv to the rescue. Thank you so much for your time. Please back Captain Luv. The book is going to be awesome. Rise of the Pirate King is just the second in an adventure heading forward for many books. Thank you for your time. Yeah. So
Oh, wow. It's quite a song, man.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, I actually, my friend challenged me to write a theme song, like for Captain Luv, because I've been a songwriter for most of my life, and actually a professional road musician for a while, and so
Uh-huh.
he challenged me to write a theme song for it, and I did, and I was all like, well, because a theme song is more like a little jingle, like it's not a whole song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so I was like, okay, well, you know what? I might as well use that jingle as a chorus and use verses as a pitch to, you know what I mean? Instead of like, you could tell that it's
Hmm.
like spoken word, but it's in a, timing with the music. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I just, wrote my pitch, in verse style and you know, and let it roll. And this
Yeah.
is actually, yeah. So it was fun, and I've gotten some great feedback on it. People dig the song too, so it's awesome.
Oh yeah, for these campaigns, it's always worth investing a little bit of money, in case you don't have the talent to do music like you, and then just get at least a little jingle or a mini score to go with it. And it's always something that you can pop on a disc or a digital file and send it to the backers either as a little as a little present on the side in the end of a campaign, or maybe as a perk, something like that, as a tier that you can back. As I definitely support the idea. Sounds great. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good idea. As far as, I mean, I don't know if people would want my pitch, you know what I mean, as a song, but if if they want it, I mean, I can make it available for them. I mean, I can easily just have them download an MP3. That's like very easy to do.
Mm. I'm thinking about I don't know if another indie publisher, an indie creator, Gilbert Deltres. He's got
Yeah,
he's got
Grom. Yeah, he's got Grom. Yeah,
a
the
yeah a theme song for all their campaigns. So
oh
for
yeah,
all his campaigns, he's got at least some score or theme song. Yes, and that one, the rodents, the space rodents. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the one you were thinking of.
Galactic
Yeah.
Rodents of
Oh,
Mayhem.
Mayan, yeah, that
Hmm.
and that's also great that he has that in place. So this is the second issue. Then I was getting that wrong. So the first actual book was the
Rise of the Pirate King.
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hero of the
So
Cleansing.
what?
Yeah, Hero of the Cleansing was the first book. Rise of the Pirate King is the second
Uh-huh.
book. I'm doing this in
Yeah.
chapters, like a
Uh-huh.
subscription model. So like if you want to be an executive producer, that's kind of like buying all 7 books and they get shipped out because there's going to be 7 campaigns, so one for each chapter and then the
Okay.
final book. So it's kind of a subscription model, so you can back as an executive producer, and then you'll get a book every time a campaign fulfills. So all you do is just back once, like as if you were doing the crowdfunding model. You know what I mean? But you're getting
Mhm.
7 books. That's more of a subscription model than a crowdfunding model. But
Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
yeah,
So you basically introduce the universe.
yeah, the universe is introduced in the first book, which is Hero of the Cleansing, and then that book
Yeah.
is this link right here. I got that handy, of course. Boom,
Uh-huh.
boom, boom, bink. Yeah, that's this one. The promo video on that is kind of outdated because it's because the book is fulfilled. You know what I mean? And it talks about that. But as you can see
Hmm.
here, there's the Captain Special, which has the original cover and the variant cover, and then all 9 trading cards. This is a very, very popular tier. Most people seem to love this one. This ships immediately. So like if you it's like the next shipping day available here is Tuesday. So if it was ordered during the weekend, it'll ship out Tuesday. Monday's a holiday, so um,
Hmm.
this week it is. And then if you want just the book, here it is. And again, if you're in the UK or Australia or Canada, one of the it you have to pay for shipping. But if you're in the domestic United States, shipping's included in the price. And then if
Hmm.
you're out of the country, the shipping costs are discounted the cost that the domestic is. So
Hmm.
it's a
That's
bargain on
definitely well
shipping.
organized.
Yeah. And then if you want just the variant or a signed copy, or both, all these options are still available. If you want just one book in the trading cards, and the artwork samples are very beautiful. You can see them
Hmm.
better, obviously, if you go to the campaign yourself. But
Hmm.
you know what I mean. It's done very well. My artist's name is Andrea Bormida. He's an Italian illustrator,
Yeah.
uh, and he does great work. I mean, obviously, being European, he's familiar with some of the comic stylings, like you were mentioning, the original heavy metal and whatnot. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful. And then as far as so those perks are available. The book is doing very good. It's got 258 backers. It's in demand right now. It had a slow start because
Yeah.
I was an unknown and I didn't have a big following, to push my own book. And then because of all the stuff that was going on, with people not fulfilling and people grifting
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff, I basically had to prove myself before sales started picking up. Because if you can see, my campaign was at 3,389 when it after the 2 months. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
60 days. And then since then, I have people, once people realized that the book fulfilled and people were talking about how much they love it, it has grown, another basically 6 grand after that. So,
That's awesome.
right. And
Yes.
then,
Let me ask you.
yeah,
Let me ask you something though. So the first issue, so the year of the cleansing,
yeah,
that ended back in December of
yeah,
2019. So
right.
now pretty quick turnaround for the second issue. I mean, we're in May now, obviously, but that means that obviously you got your team well in place. I mean, you mentioned the Italian artist, right? So you guys have already scripted, and has he done the art for quite a few issues in. How are you able to have
Chapter
such a
one,
quick turnaround?
chapter one is finished, and
Hmm.
he's almost done illustrating chapter two. The colorist has already started working on the colors for chapter two, so that'll be done fairly soon. Chapter three will be hopefully done, even faster. You know what I mean? Not sooner, obviously, but hopefully even faster. It really, it really depends on the speed that the artist works. Um, the challenge being that every illustrator doesn't necessarily always take one job at a time. Sometimes they work on multiple jobs, so
Yes.
got to do what you got to do, you know what I mean? So but I've been happy with the end product thus far. So and he does a great job. So
Absolutely.
there's no reason to change that on this book, so yeah.
Yeah.
um
Some
and
great panels, and the color as well is a solid work on the colors.
I found a great colorist. I actually shopped around through a lot of colorists till I found the guy that had the right style that I needed. Um,
Hmm.
and he does excellent work. I seriously, like, my colorist is a joy. He'll do the color work, and I'll, like, very, like, 1 page out of 10, I'll send back with a change. You know, I mean,
All right.
yeah, very rarely do I have a change from my colorist. I mean, very rarely.
Absolutely no edits whatsoever. Just 1 in every 10.
Yeah, like
That's
something.
impressive.
Yeah, very rarely. It's like it'll be something minor too. I'll be like, oh, you know
Mm,
what? This is the wrong color, and we need this to be this color. Or I'll be like, oh, hey, you missed this one spot here. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
it's minor stuff, and he, like, fixes it, and like usually gets me back the graphic the same day or the next day, and then
that's awesome.
we move forward. So he's a joy to work with. I've had, like, absolutely no issues with him at all. So. And that's his name is Slamet Muhino,
Uh huh.
and yeah, and he's in Indonesia somewhere. So,
Mm.
and then
Yeah,
this
a
is
lot of talent coming from that part of the world, actually.
yeah. Well, I find there's talent all over. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's really amazing how, like the overall Indonesia China area, they have quite a few people that specialize in doing after work. You know what I mean? Like like there's a lot of people that are, like, either home trained or trained in school on computers and programming and computer graphics and computer animation. And I mean, I don't know where they all get trained, but there's a massive amount of people that are trained in those industries out there. And obviously it's because the cost effectiveness, and Disney sends a lot of work that way. ILM, which is now owned by Disney, sends a lot of work that way. So they
Hmm.
do a lot of after work. I mean, I mean, a lot of after work. So most
Yes.
of the touch up work you see in movies and stuff like that at the end is usually done by these companies. So
Indeed, we can see a lot of their credits. As the credits roll in,
yeah,
there's a lot of that part of the world there.
especially
Before we get,
if you watch credits like on Netflix and stuff like that, you'll wait till the end, and then it's all in foreign languages.
oh yes, there's also some emerging talent or emerging talent, maybe
Yeah.
it's
Well,
in
as
Europe right now,
yeah,
and
as I say, as we mature
I was
technologically,
going to say
it makes the world smaller as a whole. So it makes it easier for people to work with.
yes.
Mhm.
Uh, I was going to say, most of you guys must have watched The Witcher series, and obviously, it's a big European amount of crew members there. So if you notice that in the end credits, and it's understandable why, because obviously of the material adapting. But yeah, there's some emerging talent coming from East Europe now. So it's no monopoly from the traditional countries such as UK and Germany, and putting in the behind camera, but a lot of it has been now directed to Europe, which is great because it allows for different visions and a set of ideas to get involved into production. So I always welcome that.
Yeah.
One thing I hate and I've always fought against is monopolies. So that's why we're here. That's why we're part of the revival.
Yeah.
No
Well,
monopolies.
yeah,
Just
that's basically been the beauty of the community is that the mainstream industry tries to keep a tight fist on it. In fact, this is an interesting story. Just yesterday, I was talking to a guy who does booking for for comic book creators and filmmakers and that kind of stuff. Basically independent creators that but also people that are also in the mainstream. And he sees a lot of what the mainstream does is where they basically force out um, a lot of creators and ignore a lot of creators because they don't play the diversity game. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And it's like one of those things that I experience. I mean, I have, obviously before I took my comic book to crowdfunding, I actually pitched it, to a few. I don't know if I pitched it. I kind of like gave a few publishers a taste of what it was. I mean, it wasn't about pitched; it was a finished book. It wasn't like, oh, I need you guys to pay to do this book. It'd be like, do you want to pick it up,
all
kind of
right.
thing. And it's the ones that I spoke to, basically did not come back with stuff that I wanted to hear. And then I talked about going to some other ones like Image and whatnot, and I had talked to some people who worked there, and they were all like, "No, don't do it. Don't do it. You'll lose control of your book, even though it's creator owned. They say it's creator owned. You'll lose control. They'll
Mhm,
definitely put you under contract where they have final say and that kind of stuff." And I was
mhm,
like, really? That seems like, like not how they do things, but, because the how they advertise themselves as creator owned, it doesn't necessarily mean creator controlled. You know what I mean? That's something that I find interesting. So, so like
yeah.
you have the mainstream tanking properties like on the regular, because they want to try and force, you know, uh, diverse angles. They want to try and force things to that are outside the demographic of your audience. You know what I mean? It's almost like, they don't know their audience. I mean, they're making money, they're still making money, but they have so many comic books fail um, in the mix because they push all this stuff. The
Mhm,
stuff that doesn't fail is the stuff that doesn't play those games. You know what I mean? So it's really weird how like it's really weird because this guy actually said to me, we were talking, and he's all like, "Well, yeah, they know what they're doing. I mean, look how successful they are." And I'm in my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, but the stuff that succeeds is the stuff that doesn't play those games." Looks like he dropped back in, having an internet connection.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. So
Uh, it could be mine, to be honest. But yeah. Well, let's fingers crossed.
well, it's okay. You dropped out. I was still here. So, um, so as far as this campaign
Yeah,
goes,
as one of us holds on the stream.
right. Yeah. So as far as the campaign goes, the if you don't want to back executive producer, it's not
Mhm,
required. You can actually back each campaign individually. Obviously, you can get just chapter one by itself for $15, and that ships. That ships without additional cost in domestic. So if you're like obviously if you're in the UK or Australia or something like that, Canada, then there's a shipping cost. But if you're in the United States, $15 is all you pay. If you want it signed, it's 20. Um, and then obviously you can get there's a variant from Hero of the Cleansing, the first book, made by cover designed by Vinny Tartamella. This is it right here. Very beautiful artwork by the amazing artist Vinny Tartamella, and that is here. And then obviously you can that's this one here, and then you can get two copies of chapter one with one signed. Here I have what's called the poster power pack. It is an actual 11 by 17 poster that will ship, in a protective container. It will not be folded A lot of people fold their 11 by 17s and just include them with the book. I don't like to have my posters folded. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because it's you have to work those creases
Good
out.
old Vinny.
Yeah, and yeah, from Vinny. And then so the poster is the same one as the variant cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like this poster power pack, you can get the poster, the variant cover, and chapter one if that's what you want. So, and then I have a drawn in the book
Hmm.
a tier that, and then with the complete collector's package is kind of like two of the executive producer. You get two copies of everything, and in the Vinny variant is included in that. Um, and then this commission, nobody really seemed to be interested in it. It's actually a character commission by my illustrator, but you would be drawn with the character of your choice, kind of selfie style. No one's really picked up on that, so I guess that was just too new of
Hmm.
an idea. And then become part of the saga. This one's real fun. I got one of the two of these options left. Basically, what this is you work with me to create a character that will exist in this book and then make a minimum of a cameo in every Captain Luv book, not every chapter, but every chapter, every book moving forward. At minimum, make a cameo, and then you will get creator credit for, well, co-credit for that character in the back of the book also. So that's,
All right.
yeah, it's kind of so you get immortalized, because I'll be doing Captain Luv for years and years and years and years, and so yeah, the character that you help create will exist in that book forever. And
Hmm.
then the original Vinny art was sold already.
Hmm.
That was this year,
That's
uh,
great.
and right now we are on the stretch goal towards 15K, which is 2 additional trading cards. I have not shown the trading cards. I was thinking maybe I should show the trading cards. But I kind of wanted them to be surprises. It's like the first book had trading cards, on reveal, and a lot of people picked those up. Um, I just figured I'll try it like this, and then if nobody is excited about trading cards, I'll show them on the next campaign. I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm trying kinds of different things, kind of gauging what works and what doesn't work. I figured that there's a lot of experiments in these campaigns.
Hmm.
So I want to see what works best and dial it in for the customer.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you have a long saga planned for many years. So after these 7 issues, are you thinking about a second series
Oh
of
yeah, I
books?
got I got the next 3 books after this one, which 3 books, 6 chapters each. That's what 18 chapters. I got those all worked out in my head already, like where that's going.
Hmm.
So yeah, so there's the next 3 books after this book, after Rise of the Pirate King. The next 3 books, I already have the arc worked out in my head, and
All
and
right.
a lot of it written down too. But it's not actually finished writing. It's they're in loose outlines. So.
Okay, well, let's concentrate on the source of inspiration for this. So we had mentioned, obviously, we talked just a little bit before coming live. We were speaking about heavy metal. I mentioned Buck Rogers in the 25th
Yes.
century, just because some of the panels here artist makes here, some of the in quotes titillation, I would call it. It just reminded me of the TV series of Buck Rogers, actually the pilot episode, which had all these gorgeous women just sprawling out in the title sequence. And it was a funny series at the time. I think it came out in 1980
Yeah, with Gil
or
Gerard. Yeah.
1979.
Yeah.
That's right, and there was a lot of innuendo in it, and obviously just clear nods to some spice thrown in there. But it was still very much aimed at a family kind of audience. But I thought about that. I thought about obviously Flash Gordon,
Yes.
and of course I obviously now wanted your opinion on it. What made you create this story? What was your sources of
Well,
inspiration?
well, Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers are exactly right. Also, there's a little bit of Han Solo attitude in there. There's some Captain Kirk personality in Captain Luv, and obviously Star Trek and Star Wars were influences. Also, James Bond is an influence.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like all those like favorite tropes growing up, those heroes, those kinds of guys. I mean, there's I could list a long list of characters where there's just little nuances of those characters that are implemented, but those are basically the ones that are most identifiable, that you get the biggest feel from. Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, Captain Kirk, Han Solo, uh, uh, James Bond. Those are
Mhm.
probably the biggest ones. There's a little Chuck Norris in there. There's a
Mm.
little,
All right.
and there's a little, there's a lot of little things from different characters in there. So over the years,
A little of a lot.
yeah,
That's
a little
correct.
of a lot,
A lot of
exactly.
a lot of those guys you mentioned, they're mostly fall into the category of the anti-hero. So there'll be also helps the drama. A lot of sometimes duality in the main character
Yeah,
can
well,
propel the
he's
story this
yeah,
way or the other.
yeah, he's not really excited about being any kind of hero, and in
Hmm.
fact, he's not really excited about too much going on around him. He has like a sense of responsibility, and he's, in a way, he's kind of a tragic character. In the first book, when you read it, you find out that he has a legend that surrounds him, that he supposedly lives forever, and now that legend is based on a situation that happened to him, that he was in love with a voodoo princess, and she sort of cursed him. I guess cursed is the word that is used, but she asked the voodoo goddess to watch over him, so that to protect him, so that he can always come back to her as long as he loved her. You know what I mean? The problem is that she dies while he was still in love with her. So
Hmm.
he is stuck loving her forever because she died when he loved her, and thus he can never die, apparently. And that's the legend. It obviously has not been proven, because he's not like he's 1,000 years old or anything. So
Hmm. Captain Love tends to look a bit like a rock star as well. I mean, to me, I mean, it looks like one of those '90s rock star. Nice little ponytail.
yeah, he is based on the heavy metal kind of feel. The braid actually is something that transferred over from the very first iteration of Captain Love. Captain Love started out as a little 30-minute sci-fi short, and
All
then
right.
it was liked so much that it was extended into a full-length feature film. And then when I was having the storyboards drawn for to pitch the feature film, it was suggested that I do a graphic novel to tell the backstory.
Hmm.
And then I thought that was a pretty good idea, so I mustered up the money, made that happen. And then that was a long endeavor. It was a really major endeavor. It's a long story in itself, with the first illustrator not working out very well, second illustrator coming on the board, just took money and ran, and then the third illustrator is the one that
Mm.
I'm using now. You know what I mean?
What a what a
And
brain.
yeah, so it's and then he had to redraw a whole bunch of stuff that the first illustrator because obviously the artwork didn't match, so a lot of stuff had to be redrawn, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it was just a seriously expensive endeavor. And if I had known that I was going to get, if I had known the end result was going to be as it was, I probably wouldn't have started it. you know
Hmm.
um but because those problems came a little at a time over a long period, I was able to bear the burden, and obviously I had invested so much, so I just had to keep pushing through.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah. Those are the only situations that we're able to cover if they're spread. I mean,
yeah.
some guys put all their cards straight away on the table, and they lose a huge amount of money in just one go, and that's basically game over. But we'll have 3K, 4K, 5K, even 10K. But if you spread out over 10 years, okay, it doesn't hurt that much, even though it's still a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about the short film though. I mean, is there any way we can watch it? Is it on
Oh,
YouTube
it
or?
never actually got made. Like I said, the short film was just written, right?
Oh,
And then
right. Oh,
everybody
right. Got
everybody
it.
loved the script so much, I expanded that into a full length film. Now that will get made,
All right.
but I'm building up the IP first. So there'll be
Mhm.
several
Right.
books out before the movie comes out. So the movie won't come out for years and years and years. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll look forward
Unless
to that.
somebody throws money
Uh,
at me to have it made, and then it'll come out quicker. But right now, there's nobody throwing money at me saying, "Hey, make this film." It's written, it's
yeah,
ready to
just all of
go.
a sudden.
Yeah.
Get in touch with James Woods. He's on Twitter all the time. He might want to become a producer.
I somehow I don't think
You
he
mentioned,
would. Yeah, he's on Twitter, but I think he's on Twitter to basically troll.
yeah, just well, exactly. Just give him some ammo to troll. Yeah, you can use Captain Love as a topic of to shame the opposition.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
every once in a while, I send Captain Love to an influential person that I have, like, when I get their address, you know what I mean, from somebody, I send it out, to them. Somebody
mhm,
so somebody who could do something with the Captain Love, property, who could make all the connections if they wanted to. So like
mhm,
if one of these people may reach back to me and say, "Hey, what are you doing with this? This is awesome." Do you have? And because as soon as somebody approaches me to, like, to buy the rights to the property and then discover that I have a movie already,
mhm,
you know
mhm,
what I mean?
mhm,
That
mhm,
will change the discussion, and then, in a big way. So, that's
mhm,
that's kind of one of those things that will eventually happen. You know what I mean? Because it's anybody who has a comic property that goes for a while usually gets approached at some point to have the rights
mhm.
purchased. I mean, that's I don't know if they're still doing that, but I mean, like move uh, 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 what do you call them? Filmmaking houses,
Yeah,
studios were
yeah,
doing that on the regular. They were all basically competing and trying to buy everything up at one point. I don't know if they do
yeah,
that so much
yeah.
now, but and especially with the indie unknowns. But most of the mainstream properties all have licensing purchased already. So
Mhm.
most of, not all, but
Uh,
not ones that are successful, not ones that are crappy. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the screenplay, how are you, or how have you approached the screenplay in terms of adapting your own story? Did you went are you following the path of these first seven issues, and that's going to be your main source of the screenplay?
Actually,
Are you
the
do
screenplay happens far in the future from where these books are. So I actually
all
wrote
right?
that. I actually wrote that at a certain point in Love's life, and then the backstory. Obviously, I was way before the movie, right? And so this book, Rise of the Pirate King, is the one that follows the book that's the backstory. I mean, it's like, so there's years of time between, good, at least you could say you could probably fit, 5-10 years. I mean, I don't define it, you know what I mean, on purpose. But there's,
Mhm,
an easy 5 years of time between the backstory book, Hero of the Cleansing, and then the movie. So
mhm. You had mentioned there earlier on when you said that the first campaign took a little bit of time to pick up steam.
mhm.
When do you think? Obviously, you mentioned your obvious reasons that you were trying to get a little bit more of eyes on and online and all that, because although we have a lot of ways now to promote ourselves, there's still only a certain amount of places we can do it. Meaning we cannot just go on national television at 9 o'clock and plug the. It would be great, but when do you think the actual happen, and why? I mean, and this
Well,
is what I wanted
but
to bring up the main topic for tonight.
I, I would say that things picked up once I started fulfilling and people had their books in their hands.
Hmm.
And then they were able to say, "Look, I have it." And they would put pictures on Twitter of the book, and they would talk about how awesome the book was itself, how much they enjoyed reading it, how well it was written, all that stuff, how
Hmm.
high
Hmm.
quality it was. It was, basically what you would call endorsement. You know what I mean? Over
Yeah,
and over and over again. And
yeah.
that's pretty much what it takes to sell books in general, is endorsement, unless you have a huge following.
Hmm.
So then, gosh, my cats are funny. I'm at my print. I'm looking over here at my printer, and there's like maybe 15-20 pages of just unprinted paper, which means they keep stepping on the copy button, and like
All
it
right.
runs a page through, and just, I'm like, man, these cats. All right, so yeah, so basically it's when the book was fulfilled and people started, talking about it in their hands and reviewing it and saying how awesome it was, and that's when, the sales started picking up. So
That is true. That is, I mean, once you get that feedback, and especially like you mentioned, which is a great thing, that I actually ask everybody that buys a book if they could do it, as best as they can to actually post a pic of the book once it's in their hands. That is great, great feedback, great support, especially coming straight from the consumer, which is perfect instead of just being a talking head or just a guy that is your friend and all that.
Right.
But I did notice at the time of the first campaign, there was a little bit of pushback of some people online, Twitter or whatever other socials I was noticing, that there's mature content all over this book and all that, and
Yeah,
that's
there was a
that
little bit of pushback. I mean, here's the thing,
struggle.
yeah, in America, there's people who are extremely uptight for some reason. For some reason, people still think in this day and age, we are in 2020, 2020. You would think that in this day and age, people would realize that there we are not our the gatekeepers of entertainment to the next person. What I like is not going to be what you like necessarily. We might like the same thing, but it's not a guarantee. You know what I mean? So if you don't like it, it's not for you. That's fine. But don't tell people it's not for them. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Because let them make their own decision. If you want to try and like shame somebody because they have sexy girls, or if you want to try and change social perception, then you're a bad person that way. I mean, I could understand if if you think that you're trying to eliminate hate, you're trying to eliminate. I understand, but the truth of the matter is um, not every book, just because it's sexy or has a nudity or whatever, is toxic. In fact, very few books
mhm,
are. I have backed quite a few books, and I've been reading comics for years, and very rarely is there anything toxic in a book. Usually the toxic stuff is, sticks to like, um, you know, uh, right wing blogs and and Twitter rants, or
mhm,
extreme left, mind control approaches. I really get annoyed by the way that people try to play games and all the little dirty tricks and tactics they will use to try and control what people think. You know what I mean? I find it very
mhm,
disgusting. So
mhm.
I don't
I
engage
mean,
in any
that
of that.
whole thing of that thing about the Puritan side of the audience. That's a starting point, but that's something like for me, for myself as an outsider, as a guy that is trying to push his own brand of comics, his own brand of products onto the American market. That's always something that confuses me quite a lot, and maybe you're able to answer this.
Hmm?
I see a slight I won't call it confusion, but I see a slight dissonance within the U.S. audience, the U.S. consumer, because I find it very funny, very confusing, which is most won't mind hyper stylized violence. Who doesn't? We all like cathartic violence, and then they would object to the woman, the top drawing of a girl, and then there are this by the same token, there's the same amount of same amount of consumers, same amount of readers might not mind the topless female, but then mind the harsher language, the swear language, and then there is the ones that don't mind the swear language, but mind the violence. So and sometimes they kind of crisscross themselves. I mean, I was in touch with an artist once, and I said to him, I'm going to be doing a comic which has violence, has nudity, and has swear language. And the guy turns to me and says, "Okay, I'm fine with the violence and the language, but I'm not fine with the nudity." And then I find later on that he does a lot of paintings, oil paintings, and acrylic paintings, and they all have nudity in them. So I'm like, what exactly is going on there? Is it different sides of the society that confuse themselves on exactly what they find tolerable or not, or Do they really know where the
I
level
would
of
think,
tolerance aligns?
yeah, I would think that everybody's different. You know what I mean? A lot of people, have, okay, so like a lot of people will base their personal opinion on themselves and their stability of their, I guess, their own id, um, on what other people think and tell them. You know what I mean? So they will
Hmm.
give authority to how they should live their lives to people, to, like, so for instance, if somebody is like hardcore, like in their church, and like maybe for whatever reason, like maybe they feel like they need to get their life right, or they just want to feel safe, or whatever reason it is that they go to church,
Yeah.
um sometimes they will give authority to people in the church to tell them how to live their life, right, instead of trying to like have a relationship with the creator of the universe, and
Yeah.
let that creator tell you in your heart how you should live your life. You know what I mean? So and a lot of people just do things differently than others. So you will find that it's a spectrum, just like anything else. But what I think is wrong is people trying to tell other people how they should live their lives. I think that's wrong. I mean, if you want to give somebody that kind of control, that's up to you. But people just trying to take that control on their own and trying to like force
Mm.
things, you know what I mean? It's like, in the United States, the reason why we have freedom of speech is so that you can't do that. This country was founded on, one of the things that we founded this country on, our First Amendment in the United States, is freedom of speech. You know what I mean? It's the first thing. It's the most important thing we address. We are allowed to say whatever we want to say. You know what I mean? Don't tell us who we are. Um, but some people want to change that. Still, they want to shame, since they can't change the Constitution, they're going to try to shame you into doing things their way, or try to ruin your business so that you will not do these things or not support certain things because you're afraid someone's going to attack your business and hurt your income. So
Absolutely.
it's that whole what they call cancel culture now. It's
Yeah.
disgusting. So
I mean, when making a book which is mostly for mature audiences,
mhm.
what how much do you think is in terms of demographics? How much do you think a creator stands to lose? I mean, not so much.
Well, I did
Obviously,
my research on that actually before I decided, because I was gauging how far I wanted to go in the book. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I don't really go far as a lot of other mature books. A lot of other mature books go a lot further, especially if they're like the French ones. Oh my God. Um,
Yes.
but so like I was gauging based on what was selling in the United States, what was popular as far as the mature market. Now, the absolute second most popular graphic novel across the board, the graphic novel series, actually, I think it's actually the most popular graphic novel series. I don't know. It's like Walking Dead switches places. One is first and second with it a lot. Is Saga, Saga, Saga. Uh,
Hmm.
that one has nudity and adult themes all through it. It is a mature comic. It's rated mature, and it is one of the it's this, one of the top two selling graphic novels in the entire country.
Hmm.
The series is, I mean, I was talking to my just one guy at the LCS, the guy that runs my local comic book shop, and I don't live in a huge big metropolis. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's the comic book shop is packed every day or anything. And they sell about 25 copies of that graphic novel a month just at that one location. And not just, not
Wow.
saying we're not be different issues of the series, but they
Yeah.
sell about 25 of them. And I'm like, okay, well, at $20 a pop, that's a lot of income from one LCS,
Yeah.
you know. So so if you think about, there's roughly 3,000 LCSs across the country. If they all average, let's say 10 to 15 sales to that book, that book is making bank. you
He's
know
making a lot of money.
Right. And so I gauged how much nudity that I use in my book, and the style of nudity, just one step safer than what they do.
Hmm.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
So so that you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's like I always thought I was playing it safe, but still targeting my demographic of a mature audience. This is not a children's book. The whole all the over even the overarching themes are not for a children's mind. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So nudity made sense. You know what I mean? And also that there was a purpose. I wanted to make an impact about certain things, and nudity helps make that impact. It's not some just random throw tits and ass in there for no
Yeah,
reason
of
at all.
course.
So,
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, you obviously have your themes to explore, and then you basically construct. You add things, you add scenes, you add that help to kind of explain those themes and
mhm.
explore those themes. And it is what it is. It is what you need to use. And I see that you mentioned the French graphic novels and French comics, and obviously there's a it happens that there's a very slim line between what probably you would call the comic you have, which is an R-rated, and an X-rated comic.
Yeah, we
Here in
call
Europe,
in the U.S. we call them mature and adult, right? Mature
right?
means that it's basically like the equivalent of an R-rated movie. Adult means that
Hmm.
it's basically the equivalent of soft porn or
Yeah,
straight porn. Yeah,
the X version,
right.
X, XX,
X to X
or
X to triple
XX,
X. Yeah,
triple X.
X. Yeah,
Yes,
from yeah.
that's it. I'm working on my own triple X right now. and I want to see And I want to see how that going to swing, because it is a homegrown book, so it is a European book, but it's going to be aimed at the U.S. market because it's quite mediatic. The themes in it are just exactly all about this cultural war we've been having, and all the characters, the token characters, to represent a lot of stuff that right now is part of our news segments every day, and part of the political life. And obviously, it's not going to be a politicized book. It's going to be an action, fun book. It's basically in the horror genre, but we're having no boundaries with it, because the whole thing is pantomime, and that's why it needs to be exaggerated. So everything is amped up to 11. So if
Yeah.
you have swear language, it's going to be, from beginning to end, just f bombs. If it's going to be titillation, that we don't have any problems with, have full frontals. And if there's going to be gore and violence, well, there's going to be indescribable gore and violence. And there's fantastic elements, there's fantasy elements, but they're used in a way that is subtle or not so subtle. So in order to on purpose to provoke a reaction from the reader. So it really is a bombastic kind of book, and right now I'm going through that same problem that you were going through. It's to know exactly what line should be drawn. To know
Hmm.
exactly how far I should be going, and that's why wanted to approach this subject here today, because it's always very interesting to know how to, because you like yourself, we all do the books that we want to do for ourselves. First of all, I mean, the stories we want to have on paper,
Right. Well, I mean,
the
the
stories
truth of the
we want
matter.
to
Yeah,
tell.
the truth of the matter is it's on our back. If we're making an indie book and we're paying for it and we're doing everything and we got to make it sell, it's on our back. The final call is us. You know what I mean? So you really got to
Yes.
do with what you think is best based on everything you put together, and don't do it based on what somebody else thinks. Do it based on what you think. Always
Hmm.
use your opinion, what you truly think and feel is right inside, as your final calling point, because you cannot be wrong at that point. You know what I mean? It's just somebody else doesn't agree or somebody else doesn't like
Hmm.
it. You know what I mean? That's fine. But it's not like you put it out there and somebody else doesn't like it and they're crapping on it and you're like, oh man, I was thinking that maybe I should have done that. It's like, no, get yourself satisfied with it and then stick to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's always the point of self censorship, which is, in my perspective, has always been, whatever a story needs, if it really needs it. So don't just throw things out there just because you think it's going to get a reaction. Just if you want to do a proper solid book, just have something in it that the story really needs.
Hmm.
Well, at the same time, I mean, you should, especially because he's indie comics. If you're going to do something like this, if you're going to be a kind of a free spirit and do really what you want, then there's no better arena than indie comics, because there's absolutely no editorial arm controlling it. So if you're gonna have the wildest stories, this is really is the right place for it. And the mainstream obviously not taking any more risks, and I think we it's the right time to jump on it again, and be the ones that cover that hole, that gapping hole in the on printed media, especially comics.
Yeah.
So I think there should be more books like this. Basically, bottom line.
Well, I'm making more, so there will be.
That's it. That's it. Well, man, this is great, but I think we're getting to the end. Um, I gotta get going, and I don't know if you wanted to pitch anything else. Obviously, I will leave under the description of the video the link to the current campaign, so chapter 1. Anything else in the pipeline that you want to advertise now that you have the moment for it?
Yeah, just basically, I have my channel. It says there, the Drew Love, youtube.com/the Drew Love. Also, twitter.com/the Drew Love is how you find me. Also, instagram.com/the Drew Love for that matter. But we have Monday nights. We have a show called Horror Talk where we dig into elements of horror comics, horror movies, that kind of stuff. And then Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and the occasional off night, we interview independent creators, mostly comic creators. This Wednesday, we're actually, okay, so like this Tuesday, we're interviewing somebody that my co-host has picked out. He should be pretty cool. But this Wednesday, this guy is an actual historian for the Titanic. And so it's going to be a very interesting live stream, because we're going to be able to pick his brain about all kinds of things about the actual, Titanic itself. So that's going to be. And
I saw it.
he's also preparing to do a fantasy comic, and he actually has a couple of fantasy books that sell on Amazon right now, etc. So yeah, he's.
You have content almost every day on your channel. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it tends to get busier as time goes by, and I have other things that I don't want to talk about yet that are
Absolutely.
coming out that'll make it even busier than it's doing now. So it's, yeah, I have found that that in the indie comics world, unless you have very famous friends who are going to endorse you on the regular, you need to build a following of loyal people. So to get that following built, you have to get yourself out there, and you got to get people, to know what you're about, and you got to give them something entertaining so that they will want to keep coming back for more. So I am doing my best to do as much as that as possible. So
You're working very hard, man. You're working very hard. I appreciate that. And anyone watching this stream, or after the stream, let's everybody visit the Love channel. Just really really gotta check that out, man. Yeah, it's a lot of material out there.
yeah.
It's great to have create obviously the fans I mean the everyday content helps create what you just mentioned, a loyal following, some
Mhm.
consistency, and almost something new almost every second day or every day if possible. That's great.
Yeah.
I have to check that out.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for
uh
having me on your channel, and wanting to talk about Captain Love. That's great. I
yeah, it
appreciate it.
was great, man. Thanks for coming over, and just hang out a little bit just after I close the stream, because you're going to give me those links once more so I can put them in the description of the video. Okay.
Yeah, you know what? I can actually pop them into your private chat real fast too. So,
Yeah, just put them right here.
or would it be easy? Yeah, that would probably be easiest, I think. Yeah.
Whatever is easier. In the meanwhile, so anyone that happened to drop in on this channel and watch this video live or not, just subscribe to my own channel, please, Michael, and pretty much trying to do the same, but a little bit more difficult as my time is a little bit more scarce. But I do sometimes bring on creators for interviews, some big names as well in the comics industry, if I happen to have the chance. Sometimes just live streams of drawings with other artists. So yeah, just do what you feel like doing. Usually is like the video and subscribe to the channel and have a look all the way down the history of the videos. So find some other amusing little things I put it on, and you definitely have some nice streams and nice interviews to check out. You're gonna put those links now on the chat.
I'm putting them in the private chat.
All right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Very good.
I can't
then,
post from StreamYard to the live chat without going on to YouTube and doing it. So
Oh
and then
yeah.
I can't post links without being a moderator. So I just posted them in the private chat so you can put them wherever you want later.
That's great. We will do that. Okay. It's all for now. See everybody another time, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.